Hey guys, this is Naman from Reference. We are building a market network for freelancers and small agencies. Today we are going to talk about product market fit, or as people like to call it, PMF. All startups talk about it, people have been chasing it. There are large startups that still haven't achieved it but have like huge revenues. There are small startups that have probably achieved PMF but are still small in terms of revenue. So what does PMF really mean? What does product mean? What does market mean? And what does fitment here really mean? We're going to look at the depths of it. So we'll start with, what does a product mean? A product basically is something that makes a better version of the user. So if you are wearing a shirt and the shirt makes you better, the shirt is a product. If you're ordering a mobile on Flipkart, the mobile is the product that you want. Flipkart is probably an enabler, but if Flipkart is making you a smarter buyer, then Flipkart is also a product. So the basic definition is anything that makes a better version of yourself. So if you're selling a business tool, the product could make the business's revenue increase or cost decrease or increase the branding or increase the compliance, any of these things. Now, when we talk about making better, what are we really looking at? What parameters are we looking at? Now, if you remember the older video we've done on the 7 sins, so if it is a consumer thing, it's like a consumer product, we are going to talk about the 7 sins. That is greed, lust, envy, pride, and the rest of it. The product must help me improve one of these things, and only then I will call it, as making a better version of myself. If it's a business tool, again, revenue, cost, branding, compliance, if it helps me achieve any of these things, we'll call it a good business tool. The second parameter is, at what quantum does it help me improve? So we looked at the parameters that needs to be changed. Now, what also matters is the quantum of change. So if we are going to talk about, say, a 10 rupee discount on a 1 lakh rupee bill, the quantum of change is not much. But if you are going to look at a 10,000 rupee discount on a 1 lakh rupee bill, then the quantum of change is very significant. Similarly, when you move, say, from a BMW to a Audi, the quantum of change in your pride is not much. But if you move, say, from a Maruti to a BMW, the quantum of change in your pride is high. So that is a differentiated product. And the third parameter to look at is how difficult or easy it is to replicate your offering. So imagine if I started a food delivery company and I got like millions of users, but somebody else can also start a food delivery company. At that moment, if I don't have enough moat, as in, a way to retain these users, then this will create a problem. Even if I have a product market fit, at this point, the product is not enough to retain my users, and hence I'll have to rediscover my product market fit. So 3 points we looked at. We looked at change, we looked at the quantum of change, and the replicability of the product. Next, we are going to talk about market. How do you define a market? So generally, when we look at a market, we say the quantum, the size of the market. People have generally been defining market in terms of number of users, number of businesses I can capture, which is, yes, one of the parameters of how you define a market. But the right way of defining the market is how much money is there in the market to be captured. For example, if I say I have 1 million users who are going to buy my burger in US versus I have 1 million users in India who are going to buy my burger. Now, because the price of the burger is going to be different because of, affordability factors, the market size will be very different. So imagine if the burger is $3 in US, 1 million users is $3 million of market cap. $3 million of market size. In India, if this burger is, say, 100 rupees, that's roughly about $1.2, right? So the market size again becomes 1.2 million. This is where you'll also see the difference between why SaaS companies always want to launch in US, because, the affordability is higher there. The capability to pay is higher. Hence, the size of the market automatically increases. The second factor when defining a market is looking at the velocity of the market. A market that is stagnant. Imagine there are, about 3 or 4 popular UPI apps in India. If you're going to become the 5th or 6th app, there is not much changing in the market. People who've already adopted to the UPI apps that there are in the market will not come to you because, again, there is no change happening in market. The change generally happens when there is an underlying shift in the environment. For example, when people move from PC to mobile, from people move, from like feature phones to smartphones, there was change happening and the movement of audience was there. There was a velocity in the audience. This is also defined in terms of headwinds and tailwinds. Right? So, for example, if more people are moving to cities and are going to live alone, the demand for food delivery is going to increase. This is what we call as tailwinds. There are market factors that are affecting the increase in size of the market, right? Versus, if I talk about, say, traditional wear like sarees, less people are wearing sarees because of cultural, change. Hence, there are headwinds towards this, towards this change. So this market will slowly slow down in terms of growth and ultimately become smaller with time. So this is a bad market to get in. So when we talk about velocity, again, it's speed of change and also direction of change. Both of this we'll have to look at. The third point when looking at a market is the fragmentation of the market. So assuming I've created this, very sophisticated AI-based radar systems that will be used on commercial flights. Now the market, 99% of the market is controlled by just two companies, Boeing and Airbus. So because the market is not fragmented, the ability to capture the market will reduce. This is also seen in terms of OTAs, where we've seen that, there are only about 6 to 7 airlines in India, and OTAs don't command a premium on this. But the same OTAs, when we look at the hotel industry is highly fragmented. So they can command a premium saying, whatever rules they want to apply, they can apply to the hotels. But the same is not applicable on airline tickets. So fragmentation is very important so that you get a chance to control the market instead of the, incumbent players of the market trying to control the market. The last thing to look at a market is the density of the demand. So if I'm going to launch a sushi restaurant in a tier 3 town in Bihar, the demand density will be very low. Versus if I'm trying to launch the same restaurant in, say, Koramangala in Bangalore, the demand density will be probably a little higher than what we would see in a tier 3 town in Bihar. Now this helps me actually, experiment my product with a larger audience. And if the demand density is not there, what will go wrong is I wouldn't know if, my product is wrong or the market doesn't exist, right? It's almost like the same thing. But if there is enough demand density, by spending very little money, I can capture this demand, and hence, the market can be defined very well. Now, when you look at fragmentation and density, fragmentation is generally on the supply side, density is generally on the demand side, and you'll have to, match both of them to define a good market. So in product market fit, we looked at product, we looked at market. What does fit really mean? Fit is basically achieving sustainability. And when you talk about sustainability, it's going to be a moving target, because either the market fundamentals will change. There's a new competitor coming in, the market size is changing. Now, because your market is changing, your product needs to evolve accordingly, and hence fit itself becomes like a moving target. Now, when you look at PMF, different companies achieve PMF at different levels. Some are good at acquiring users, as in the market and the product that I have, I can acquire users in a sustainable way, but I may not have a way to retain them. Okay, so this generally happens when you don't have a moat. Say I'm starting a utility bill payment site, and it is very easy because the whole world needs to pay utility bills. So it is cheap to acquire new users or users who are new in the market. But I do not have a way to retain them because they could be paying, using my site today and a different site day after. So again, the acquisition PMF is achieved, but retention PMF is not achieved. After retention PMF, we look at the monetization PMF. So there are, apps that will have, very easy to acquire users, and they'll manage to retain those users, but they cannot monetize those users. We've seen a lot of these UPI apps. Now, if you're a, Google Pay user, Phone Pay user, Paytm user, all these guys have managed to acquire you. You are a sticky user with them without, any incentive. But are they able to monetize? Are they making any money on it? So if you look at the example here, right? Google Pay, Phone Pay, not so much. Paytm makes a little money by, showing you different offers from different lending companies, etc. So the fitment comes from, again, acquire, retain, monetize, and then refer. Now, if monetization is possible, there should be a possibility of getting more users from the same user. And only then your PMF will become very, very sustainable. If you look at, say, Dropbox. Now, Dropbox has a very clear PMF, because if a good user, a paying user, will always refer to new users so that they can increase their, quota of storage, and hence the acquisition becomes cheap. And because the files are already stored on the Dropbox folder, your retention is sticky. And once they surpass a certain limit, the monetization also happens. And hence the whole PMF is happening. But what changes for Dropbox is, what if people stop using, Microsoft Word or, offline docs, and they start using Google Sheets or Google Docs altogether? The market has shifted, but Dropbox as a product is still there. Hence, the fitment in PMF becomes a moving target. And that is where, on probably an 8 to 10 years journey, you need to do at least 2 to 3 iteration of PMF with all the 4 together. And only then you'll see that you've created like a very large, organization from your product. So how do you know if you've achieved PMF? What are the signals to pick up in the market? The first thing is you start getting some unsolicited feedback from your users. Now these users, if you're offering, say, a food delivery service, they'll also tell you to maybe, why don't you deliver grocery also? And now there are 2 things happening here. A, this is proving that the customers trust you for what you're already doing. They think that the market is, larger, as in they're saying from food delivery to grocery delivery, the extension is not much. And so they are giving you this feedback saying, why don't you also add this? Similarly, if they are reporting bugs on your site. Now, if the product that you've made, imagine you made a SaaS product and it's very boring and, I don't really like it, I will not bother giving you feedback, right? I'll just ignore saying, okay, this site does not deserve my attention, deserve my time. But if you've achieved some level of PMF and, if there is some level of satisfaction with the user, they will give you unsolicited feedback. The second signal to pick up is referral growth, like word of mouth growth. If word of mouth growth is not happening, there is no PMF. Because if something, again, let's go back to the definition of product, something that changes, something in me, right, makes me a better version, and the quantum of change is significant, I would want to talk about it, right? If you buy a new car, if you already had a BMW, you just bought a Mercedes, you don't bother talking about it. But if you had a Maruti and now you bought a BMW, you're going to talk about it. If you've never used a CRM tool and now you've started using CRM tool, you would want to talk to fellow entrepreneurs talking about the tool. Hence, you'll see that when a PMF is achieved and the quantum of change is high, there will be a very natural referral, word of mouth referral that will happen. The third most important signal, and this is a more quantitative signal, is, when you start measuring your ARRR parameter, that is your acquisition, attention, revenue, repetition, referral, the whole parameters that SaaS tools use, you'll see there is some kind of predictability happening, where week on week you can start predicting, saying, if X many users came on the site, 15% are going to register, another 20% of that are going to be retained, and then 2% of them are going to be monetized. This whole funnel will become more predictable for you because the site is now stable, the product is stable, and there is a very expected kind of behavior from your user. And these 3 signals again become very important to know whether you've achieved PMF. So what is the shortest path to achieving PMF? Now, I wouldn't say shortest, but the surest path is actually talking to your users. Now, you think you've launched this nice shirt in the market, and because people are buying it, you are doing great. There's a product market fit. You've launched something that people are buying. But the way to measure repeat here is very bad. You don't know if these users are going to come for the second time or not. So you're going to naturally go talk to the user. When you talk to the user, the focus should be on what is the job to be done. If I'm buying a shirt to record a podcast, or I'm buying a shirt to go attend a party, right? If I don't talk to the user, I will not know if the job to be done is being done, right? Maybe, same product, say a BMW car, 2 different users, say, a middle-class family in Haryana versus a high-end billionaire in Bangalore. Both of these people are buying the same car for different needs. If you're not talking to your user, you don't know what the need is, and hence you will not be able to modify your product. You'll not be able to evolve. The second thing to look at is finding some paradigm shift in the market. So as I told you before, if the world is moving from web to mobile, this is a chance to get into the same market and try to find a PMF, because the products that already exist in the web world will find it very difficult to evolve to the mobile world. The products that already exist in a certain market, right? Say, a product that exists in the US market, which is a ride-hailing app, when they come to India, they're going to find it difficult. So if there is a paradigm shift in the market or the market's behavior, that is when you launch your product and find a PMF faster. So we looked at PMF today. We looked at product, something that makes a better version of yourself. We looked at market, how much money there is to be collected, what is the rate of change in the market, and then we looked at whether there is a fit in the product and market, which is basically achieving sustainability, and which itself is like a moving target. And then we looked at how do you really pick up signals to know whether you've achieved PMF. So if you like the video, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, do put them there. I'll try and answer them. And see you next time.